Peace, y'all. Greetings, greetings, greetings. So, I figured these last 20 days, me being the leader that I am, I would share this particular journey of mine and how I evolved to this space. How She is Magic became, I guess, what it is today. How the healing chamber evolved into what it is. And all those dynamics. Peace, beloved. Grand rising. I'm out in these streets. One of my tribe members, my baby boy, well, not the baby boy anymore, but the second baby boy, his birthday is Saturday. So I'm out in these streets trying to get all his birthday stuff together. But I wanted to share. So I posted a picture today because this was during the time frame when I was doing music, and we had a photo shoot in New York. I've been on this journey now. I've said it several times for some years. My journey initially sparked probably when I was around 15, as far as that awareness, as far as that conscious mindset. And it was crazy because I think back around that time, I don't even know if I did it subconsciously or consciously. I don't even know if I gravitated to a certain circle, with intention. Because I remember during that time frame, all of a sudden my circle of friends were Muslim. My circle of friends were of a certain level of consciousness. And that was around the time that I read, what was the book? I can't remember the name of the book, but I'm pretty sure if you are a reader, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a Toni Morrison book, and it was talking about mutilation in Africa. It was talking about mutilation of the genitals for women in Africa. Peace, beloved. Grand rising, everybody that's coming in. So that was the book that sparked this evolution of who I was. And like I said, it was for a book report, actually. And it was a book that my mother had. And I was like, well, I'm going to do my book report on this particular dynamic. And I read it, and it just created such an awareness of what was going on in our culture, what was going on in society at that moment in time, and the need for shift, the need for us to look at things from a different perspective. So that was when I was 15. Now, I still was walking real surface like some of y'all and my babies that don't be wanting to walk in their purpose. I still was like right there. I'm reading, I'm being aware. Most of my friends by that point was Muslim. So by the time I went to school, which was college, I ended up choosing a historically black college, A&T University. Initially, I was supposed to be going to UNCC, but I changed my mind because by that point, I'm what we call woke. At that point, I'm woke. So at that point, I'm like, nah, I ain't going to UNCC. I'm going to a black school. So I went to A&T. And that intensified my awareness, because now I'm meeting people from all walks of life. I'm meeting, specifically at that time when I was in college, I was hanging around people from DC and New York, and Wu-Tang was popular and popping back then, and it was just a lot going on as far as the culture. The 5%ers was popping. They were everywhere. So at that time frame, that is what I think I always credit. So if you've heard my story any other time, I always credit the 5% nation, or the nation of gods and earths, as my foundation. And the reason that I credit them as my foundation is because they sparked my intellect. They were the ones that made me research. They were the ones that was like, look, don't believe me, go do the research. Like, they were very adamant on Here's the information. They got me in a space to study, not just what I was doing in college, but to actually go and study, like understand the distance from, Earth from the sun, like understand the circumference of the Earth's planet, like understand who we are as melanated people. So it was a beautiful experience to deal with when you look at it from the surface. Because like I said, when you start coming into your awakening or your conscious self, sometimes that's still a little surface. Sometimes we're just scratching the surface off. So at that time, the 5% nation, the nation of gods and earths were the ones that scratched the surface for me, because it started making me look at things differently. It also sparked my entrepreneurial mindset, because it was because of the nation of gods and earths that I got into sewing. I always credit other little dynamics, but it really was that got me into sewing, because it was that part. I remember being in a space where I was like, I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'8", which maybe is tall for a girl, I guess. I don't know. But I couldn't find skirts to hit the floor. I like my clothes to fit a certain way. So I couldn't find skirts to fit the way I wanted them. I couldn't find matching head wraps. I couldn't find things that were youthful but still African. So I started making my own stuff. My mama used to sew. I was like, called her up, look, I need you to show me how to do this. That's what started my sewing. But then that also created where I wanted a business to do those type of dynamics. And I went into like business mind. Not only was I working 3 jobs, let's be clear, because I always been about my paper. That's why I be looking at people like, you either lazy or you just don't want it. Because I was working 3 jobs, going to college, and I remember at that time, started 2 businesses on the side. So sister was about her hustle at a very early age. I was only 20 by that point. Only 20. And that's how my mind was going. So my babies that are 19, 20, 21, listen, get up and get something. It is not that hard. It just requires you to be disciplined. It requires you to be invested in yourself. That, honestly, I didn't know that would be the spark or the change of the rest of my life. And I can say that point was definitely a turning point and a very pivotal point of my life. So the books that I read, because I always get people who ask me, like I said, I wish I could remember what the name, and I'm going to figure out the name of this book and I'm going to post it. But the books that I read around that time was Niggas to Gods. I read that. Message to the Black Man. I read that. I can't remember if that was the year Sacred Woman came out. It was either then or after that I got that book, and that's what sent me on another evolution of who I was. Behold a Pale Horse. That was around that time when I was around 1920. I don't know. It was some gems. It was all the classics. I would say it was all the classics that, if you are melanated and come into consciousness, that a lot of people tell you to read. So, Heal Thyself. I remember that. Education of Black Children. I think I was definitely more on that type of information. And that's what created this very rebellious, very fight the power, i.e. that's why me and Chuck D and Public Enemy are really close. All of that energy, that was my movement. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was very fiery. I was very still connected to my ego, even though they taught you not to be connected. But when I look back from this perspective and this evolution, that was still ego. The way that we were learning and the way that we were regurgitating information and the way that we move, it was still from an ego based. But it was needed. because I feel like when you are coming into awareness, especially if you're coming from this perspective, having confidence, having a sense of who you are from a whole nother energy, because so many years we have been taught something totally different, was important. Because now you can make choices and move from a different mentality. Now you can make choices and move from a different perspective. And it's not connected to your lack. It is not connected to this energy that was not breeding. I felt like we weren't breeding greatness at that time. We were breeding people who work for other people. We were breeding people to become more enslaved. So at that time, it definitely sparked a different type of revolution for my journey, which led into where y'all see the picture, me doing music with a group called Crew Girl Order, and that was under Public Enemy. For all my young babies, that's Public Enemy, Chuck D, Fight the Power, all of that. You can go look them up in case you don't know who that is. I hope you do. I hope y'all not that disconnected. All my old heads, I know y'all already know, which created me going on tour, doing music, speaking my voice, speaking my truth, what I felt was needed for not only young Black women at the time, but just women in our community. I really felt that there needed to be a voice that spoke on our issues, our topics, from our perspective. And I was still running a business at that time. Like I said, I was very young on some hustler shit. Like, look, let's get these dresses popping. I was working as a nanny. I was doing everything that I could do to have income. I was probably the youngest out my crew. I already had an apartment. I already had my car. I already was like, look, I'm trying to get to the money. But that became more of the focus and more of the dynamic career-wise at that time. But spiritual-wise, I was fortunate, and I feel sometimes bad for the ones that are coming up in this generation, because I was very fortunate to have old heads around me like Professor Griff. I was very fortunate to have old heads around me like Chuck D. I was very fortunate to even have the Babas and the Yayas at the time that poured life into me. Even though I was running like hell, let's be clear. Because the stuff that I was a part of was real rituals. The stuff that I was a part of at that age was from a whole nother dynamic. And they were not playing no games with you when it came to learning this information. I was building with the original non-born from the nation of gods of earth. So I'm letting you know, like, I came from like real people, real heads, real, old school mentality when it came to getting this knowledge, when it came to your spiritual progression, when it came to who you were as a melanated woman, and what you were supposed to do, and how are you supposed to be culturally responsible, how you're supposed to be spiritually responsible. And I wish, and I'm striving to create that same type of foundation. I think that's what pours into me now, is that I really want to see, because I do look at, we are the elders now. I'm about to be 40-something years old. We're not going all the way there. But I'm about to be 40-something years old. And I'm like, I'm the new elder. I'm the new auntie. I'm the new, yay. So it's my responsibility to pour life into y'all. It's my responsibility to make sure that y'all get these jewels. It's my responsibility to make sure that you're not walking around blind, deaf, and dumb because you choose to. And that's what I'm going to make sure that happens. So that's just a snippet of, like I said, I'm going to do 20 days. Every day I'm going to come on here and build with y'all. And I'm going to do 20 days until my birthday about my journey, my story. That year that I came into consciousness was also the same. Well, not this year I came into consciousness. The year that I feel like my consciousness was evolved. The year that I felt like my consciousness went to a whole nother level, not only for myself but for my purpose in the community, was the year that I also conceived my first child. And I remember having a dream about her. I didn't even know I was pregnant, and I had a dream about her. That was the first year that I can honestly say that I even experienced what my Chiron was from a different level. So that's a whole nother story. We'll get into that next time. But saying all that to say, if you young babies, y'all get out here and do what you do. Don't allow anybody to tell you that you can't do it. I had a lot of people telling me at 20, like, you got to change your whole life because you're getting ready to have a baby. I had everybody telling me at 20, like, I was in college, working 3 jobs, getting ready to start I already had started 2 businesses and found out I was pregnant. I don't know how I had time to be having sex, all the shit I was doing. How you had time to do it? That's all I'm just saying. How you got time to do it when you damn working like Kunta Kinte? I'm just saying. But I remember people discouraging me. I remember people saying you can't do it. I remember people saying that you're going to have to change your life. And I will honestly say for at least 2 months, I shut down. Because I wasn't there yet. I hadn't got all the way connected. I wasn't there yet. So in my mind, I was sitting there like, damn, I can't do it. They said I can't do it. They were like, they know. These are old heads was telling me this, like, that's too much. I can't do it. Hey, boo. And then after my little 2 months of pout went by, I got back on my grind. I got back up. I made a plan. And within a year, I was opening my first store. So by the age of 21, going into 22, I'm now left college because I realized that wasn't my destiny. This is what I was going to school for. Ain't have shit to do with what I wanted to do. I had re-enrolled in another school for fashion design. I had opened my store. I was already in business by the time I started school. So I really was winging the hell out of some shit. And I had a baby on my hip. So don't let nobody tell you can't do it, because I started there. I started from nothing. I started with nobody investing in me. Nobody believing that I could overcome that situation. That's where I started. I retired from fashion design 2 years ago. At the end of my career, I had clothing in a museum that nobody had ever put clothing in to sell. At the end of my career, I had clothing on red carpets. I've had clothing on TV. I've had clothing in magazines. I've had clothing anywhere that you can think of on many, many celebrities. So let's be clear. If I would have listened 20 years ago when they was telling me I couldn't do it, if I would have listened, I wouldn't have experienced the journey that I experienced. So when I say I lived my life unapologetically and very authentic to who I was and whatever energy I wanted to move with at that time, let's be clear, when I started doing music, everybody was looking at me like, we didn't know you wanted to do music. Well, Chuck D told me I could do music, so I'm going to do this shit. He got my back. I'm on it. Got to experience a lot of things and move a lot of units and be around a lot of great, amazing people because of that. So it depends on you. How invested are you in yourself? How dedicated are you to yourself? How disciplined are you to what it is that you want to accomplish? I've lived many, many lifetimes in this one life. I've lived many, many lifetimes in this one life. You can do it too. You just as much of a reflection of me as I am a reflection of God. So let's be clear. Get on it. Get on your shit. Quit making excuses. Quit saying that y'all can't do this shit because you got umpteen kids. I got umpteen kids too. Let's be clear. You can do whatever you put your heart and your mind and your spirit to. All right. I love you guys. Let me go in the stove so I can get my baby his stuff. All right. I will that y'all have an amazing day. This is just part 1 of 20 segments that I'm going to record and share a part of my progress and my building and, you know, the things that I went through, the amazing ups and downs. All right. Peace.